we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge John Latham scores it 116 to 113. Judge Zoltan Inyeti scores it 16 to 112. And Judge Giulio Piras scores it 115 to 113. All in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. And now the WBO Global Welterweight Champion, Ekow Essuman.
There you go. Ekow Essuman gets it done via unanimous decision. 115, 113, 116, 112 and 116, 113 across the three judges' scorecards. We're hopefully going to get a word with Ekow Essuman in a moment or two. You listen to Fight Night Live on talkSPORT. Oh, what a night. Fight Night on talkSPORT. I'm Adam Catterall, Gareth Davies in the London studio. The gang are up in Glasgow. We have just concluded our main event where Josh Taylor and Ekow Essuman have completed 12 rounds. And it was really a fight of two halves, wasn't it? I think the first 6 rounds were fantastic from Josh Taylor. I've got a lot of positives to say about that first 6 rounds from his point of view. I think Ekow Essuman maybe nicked one of those first 6, but from 6 onwards, the body just wouldn't do what the mind wanted it to do for Josh Taylor. And Ekow Essuman, the bigger, stronger, natural welterweight, just took over. And he was thoroughly deserving of a unanimous points decision victory.
Absolutely right. And we both scored it 115, 113, 7 rounds to 5 to Ekow Essuman watching on TV. Obviously, the guys are there live at the arena at the SSE Hydro. What we're used to with Josh Taylor is him coming strong in the second half of the fight. That wasn't here there, where he gets involved in a tear-up, where he gets involved in crab-like movement. Remember, one of his idols is Manny Pacquiao, looking for punches from the southpaw stance. Just wasn't there for him tonight. He looked fatigued from round 7, 8 onwards. He was surviving in there. I know he almost remonstrated with the result when it was read out.
I thought he was actually quite acceptance of the...
No, he was unhappy. He was very... That's Josh. Josh is a very proud Scotsman. He's there in front of the Tartan army. I just wonder whether he's going to have to take time to reflect on where he goes from here, or whether he will... say I've had enough, maybe it's over. But maybe that won't be tonight. But he, to all intents and purposes, should be a level or two above Ekow Essuman.
Yeah.
Certainly where he's been in his career so far. And if you count the first Jack Catterall win as a loss, which most of us did score it. You did, I did. It was seen as a disgraceful judging decision at the time. He's actually lost his last 4 fights.
Yeah. Listen, we'll come back to Josh in a moment or two, because I want to praise throw a lot of praise Ekow Essuman's way, and hopefully we'll get to speak to him very, very shortly. Because second half of the fight, he was absolutely fantastic. And even in the first half of the fight, he was making Josh work at an incredible pace. Incredible pace. He wasn't going away. He was in his face, and Josh had to be in second, third, fourth gear right from the get-go. And the fitter man ended up being able to take over the second half of the fight.
He's called the engine for a reason.
Yeah,
he's physically very strong. As John alluded to, or said earlier, rather than alluded to, he said it. He's Botswanan born. He's a very powerful physical animal. He prides himself on that. He prides himself on being a 12-round fighter. He's not a knockout artist. He was there. He was resistant to Josh Taylor when Josh Taylor was having his good rounds in the first 5. That was the Josh Taylor of old in the first 5 rounds.
But he was being made to work.
And I think Josh, in the end, didn't put a dent in him. I don't think he was hurt a lot during the fight. It was very telling when Josh went back to the corner after the 7th or 8th round and said to his corner, apparently,
I ain't got much left.
I haven't got much left. And that was borne out in the last 4 rounds that were very clear to the guy who's the conquering hero in Scotland tonight.
Yeah, that line was given to us by Spencer Oliver. He heard that in the corner, so we'll get a little bit more on that a little bit later on. From an Ekow Essuman point of view, I mean, we're talking about a guy here that was highly ranked with the WBO coming into this fight. He was putting that ranking on the line with Josh Taylor. And whilst I'm obviously giving you the ins and outs of his ranking, he's actually with Spencer Oliver right now. So let's hear from the victor tonight, Ekow Essuman, getting the job done on the cards. He's with Spence.
Yeah, well, Ekow Essuman, listen, you said you was going to do it. You was a big underdog coming into the Lions Den, and boy, did you deliver. What can I say? If I say something, I'm going to do it. Yeah, listen, you haven't said too much all week, and you said, listen, let me see. You're going to see how I deliver in there. Look, we know what you're all about. We know you're the engine, you're going to keep pushing. But this was very much a homecoming here for Josh Taylor, and he's about him establishing himself at the 147. You ripped up the script, mate.
Well, like I said in all the interviews, he made a big mistake picking me. I was the wrong kind of person to pick.
It's up to the halfway mark. It was quite close, and you come into your own in that second half, and you took him into deep, deep waters.
Yeah, that's what I'm about. I know he doesn't like body shots, so I set about him slowly because I knew he was going to come out hard and fast because he's coming up to the weight. He's not used to the weight. He's not been campaigning at it for a long time. Later on in the rounds, his oxygen debt will get to him. He'll slow down, and that's when I knew, yeah, okay, body shots and uppercuts.
Listen, you're very much becoming the Cinderella man of boxing now, 36 years of age. You know, people say, is he British, Commonwealth sort of level, fringe European? Now we're talking world level now. You know, there's a big opportunity in the twilight of your career.
I said it from ages ago. I'm aiming for world titles. I didn't say it just to say it. I'm not here just to make a number. I'm here to take over.
Absolutely. Listen, let me just mention this guy on your shirt here, a guy that we all knew so well. Unfortunately passed away, Jimmy Gill. I know he meant so much to you, and that victory for him, right?
Yeah, that victory is dedicated to Jimmy Gill. Passed away in January or so. We miss him, and that was for him.
I know you do, mate. Listen, let me bring your trainer in here as well, Jamie. Manager, let me just have a quick... Sorry. Jamie, I just want to bring you in here, mate, and just, you know, tell us what that means, that victory there, because you've been harping on about how he's going to do it. You know, he was a huge underdog, and boy, he delivered, man.
Listen, I've been saying since, 5, 6, 7 years ago, he's going to be a world champion one day. I've always believed that. You know what? Someone said to me last week, Spence, they said to me, oh, you know, this is what he's been waiting for. I said, no, this is the opportunity to get to where he's been waiting for. He's world champion blood. He's a world champion in the making, and this is the opportunity to get him there. He's proven to the world he is world level. He's just retired, in my opinion, a former undisputed champion of the world. My guy.
James, you've been saying that. Listen, boys, the rest of the team here, look, what does it mean to you? Look, I can see Jimmy on there. He's in here as well with him. This kid now has put himself in line for big, big fights.
Yo, listen, it means everything to me. I've trained this guy from amateur as well, and I told him, when he goes pro, I'll make you a champion. And we've gone above what obviously we achieved, but now, world levels.
Right, listen, let's just start the ball rolling then. Come on, give me one big name. Call someone out. Who do we want next? Come on, there's big opportunities there.
We're not calling out there, we just want whatever's next. Don't say it.
Brian Norman, he's at the top.
Brian Norman, there you go, world champion Brian Norman. That's who he's looking for now, guys. He wants that world title shot. He delivered tonight against the former undisputed champion Josh Taylor. What a performance from Ekow Essuman. Boys, back to you. The engine.
The engine, Ekow Essuman, and he needed that engine down the second half of the fight because that's where he ended up winning it, taking Josh Taylor in that second half. And Brian Norman's a good shout. Listen, at the end of the day, as I was saying just before we went to go and speak to Ekow Essuman up in Glasgow with Spencer Oliver, he's ranked number 4 with the WBO. Now, whatever, you know, power you put to these sanctioning body ranking systems, they're there for a reason, and obviously can then manoeuvre yourself into a position of fighting for a world title. Brian Norman is the WBO welterweight champion, right? The main guy in the welterweight is Boots Ennis. He's the WBA and IBF, and you've got Barrios who's fighting Pacquiao for the WBC. So Brian Norman is an absolutely fantastic fight for Ekow Essuman. Listen, closed mouths don't get fed in this game. If you're not going to call people out, somebody else will call them out, and they'll jump above you. Now, okay, he's ranked number 4. He's just beaten the undisputed champion from the weight division below, or previous undisputed champion from the weight division below, who was ranked, I think, number 11 coming into this. It's a good win. It's a signature win for Ekow Essuman. He looked great down the back end of the fight. Does he beat Brian Norman? I don't know. But does he deserve the chance to maybe have a little bit of a go at it? Listen, there's a chance for that. You've got to call these types of fights out now at this stage of your career. He's 36. He's not going backwards. He's got to call that out, and he's got to make a lot of noise for it to try and get the Norman fight.
Well, look, let's be honest about this. Josh Taylor was at his very, very best in a 4-year period, an amazing purple patch between 2018 and 2022, when he became the undisputed champion at 10 stone. And he's been beaten 4 times since then. By the brilliant Teofimo Lopez, who I think could go up and could be the number 1 in both the 140 and 147 division. He's got the skills to do it. He's got the tenacity to do it. At the moment, he's the leading light at 10 stone. Having beaten Josh in New York, I was there and watched it on the night. He was absolutely brilliant. He took over the fight in the second half and dominated Josh, who said his legs are gone because he couldn't withstand the weight cut. We've seen Josh beaten... He beat Jack Catterall once and lost to him once in 2 very good fights. Very good second fight. 7-5, 8-4. Should have been 7-5, 8-4 in the first fight, but he didn't get the judge's decision, did your namesake Catterall. And that's the 4th defeat in a row, upper weight for Josh Taylor. And I find it...
Officially 3rd. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Officially 3rd.
Yeah.
But, you know...
he hasn't looked himself for 4 years since beating Ramirez.
For 3 years, yeah. And I think Josh has been at the very top of the sport. He was our best pound for pound in the UK 3 years ago. When you look at the welterweight champions right now, I agreed to go back to Ekow Essuman. Brian Norman is 27-0 with 21 KOs, a very formidable champion. Jaron Ennis is 34-0 with 30 KOs. Right now, the leading light in the division. As you say, Mario Barrios is about to fight Manny Pacquiao in July. So that's to one side. Brian Norman is still a very tough fight for Ekow Essuman, but he deserves his moment in the sun. And he's so solid. He's a very solid physical specimen. He kept to the game plan tonight. He wore Josh Taylor down and he didn't let him off the hook. That's the biggest name victory of his career.
Correct.
And he's put himself on the map. He's put himself under the spotlight because that was Josh's opportunity with all the headlines to signal himself at welterweight. He hasn't done it. It'll be very interesting if we get him tonight, or we hear from him over the next week or so, when he gets to look at where he is at 147, where he is at the age of 34, if he can really capitalise and ever become a 2-weight world champion.
Let's get the view from inside the Hydro, because Spencer and John are still ringside, obviously picking the bones out of everything that has just taken place. You've just spoken to Ekow Essuman. Let's concentrate on the victor first and foremost, gentlemen, because Ekow Essuman, like I said, in the majority of the bits and bats that we were doing coming back and forth to the studio, second half of the fight, he was just absolutely relentless. And any time that Josh showed that he was just trying to get his foot back into a round, Essuman just shut it down, didn't he, Spence?
Yeah, he did shut it down, mate, if I'm totally honest. It was one of those fights that me and John, you know, we were both, we had it quite close after the first half of the contest had gone. I know the guys like Cole Frampton had it wider than that, but I never saw it that way. In the second half of the fight, it was totally dominant from Ekow Essuman. He come into his own. Josh Taylor looked like he was biting down on his gumshoe, trying to find something from somewhere, but that something had clearly left him. You know, you talk about the last clear victory that he had, and you go back to the Ramirez days. Since then, I'll bring John Rawling in here. Since then, John, we've not seen that Josh Taylor, and I think that become evident tonight.
Absolutely. Second half of the fight, he looked old, jaded, tired. He's the younger man in there, let's not forget, 2 years younger. But my goodness, he didn't look it. He couldn't make a dent in Essuman when it needed it. And in the closing stages, there was only one man for me who was winning it. And talking to a few people whose opinion I respect round here after the fight while you were chatting in the studio, there's plenty of people saying that Josh Taylor now is effectively finished, that he's got nowhere to go from that, and that, as Barry McGuigan said in the paper this morning, you know, he's done it all. He's got nothing to prove to boxing. He's a proud fighter. He's been a great fighter. But now, this tonight has shown that it's just not there anymore.
Has Josh Taylor given any post-fight interviews that we've seen so far as he left the arena? What's happened to him?
He's not given any, he's not spoken to anybody. He's gone back to the dressing room, and whether or not he's speaking to anybody there, quite frankly, I mean, you know Josh well, I'd be very surprised if he was going to speak too much tonight, and if you did hear what he was going to say, I don't think it'd be very broadcastable on the radio.
Yeah, boys, I will say he walked past us and his head was down. He looked very deflated, if I'm totally honest, and they're going to have those serious questions in those, and he's going to need those serious answers in that dressing room, or when he gets, has time to recover and think about it. It's going to be a long, long road back for Josh Taylor, and I believe that might be the last time we possibly see him in the ring.
Yeah. Listen, we've just been speaking about Ekow Essuman and what might come next, gentlemen. I mean, we've been flirting with the idea of maybe a world title shot. He doesn't have the high-profile name to maybe be in with the likes of the Garcias and the Bens, who might be targeting some other things. So Brian Norman as the WBO champion, with him being highly ranked, you've got to call it out, haven't you, Spence?
Yeah, listen, that's exactly what he done. He called it out. Brian Norman, who's maybe considered the weaker of the champions, he is undefeated in 27. He's a good fighter, WBO champion. Ekow Essuman deserves that, don't he? He's done the British, done the Commonwealth. He's just beat a former undisputed super lightweight champion, 36 years of age. Come on, man, give the engine his opportunity. Let him have that world title shot.
I think Norman's the number 2 in the... Sorry, John, go ahead.
There'll be a lot of people in boxing around the country. Might not be a huge popular ticket seller for the average fan, and they may not even know him too well, but there's a lot of people in the sport who know what a genuinely nice guy this bloke is, and how solid he is, and how he's served his dues. And there'll be plenty who'll think, if Scott Taylor had to lose one day, then it's no real disgrace to lose to somebody like that. And I hope Ekow does get his world title shot, because he's a good lad and he deserves it.
No, I agree, absolutely agree. And tonight he showed that he has the minerals to maybe push the very, very best in the game.
Yeah, Brian Norman Jr. is promoted by Top Rank. Top Rank has a relationship with Frank Warren, so there is a possibility. I think he'd have to go to the States to fight Brian Norman. I don't think they'd get him over here. I think he'd have to travel.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the case, guys. I think he would be willing to travel as well. Speaking to him there, he said, look, just give me the opportunity. I don't care where it is. I am the guy that likes to go on the road. He's not a big ticket seller, like you guys say, but he is effectively the Cinderella man of the division, and he deserves the opportunity. If Brian Norman Jr. is looking for what they will consider, maybe an easy voluntary defence, there he is, Ekow Essuman. The fight, as you said there, guys, the promoters are there. The fight can be made. Top Rank and Frank Warren, they work together. Let's get it on, man. Give the kid the opportunity.
And firstly, I'd like to say I apologise for calling Josh Taylor Scott Taylor. I do know he's called Josh, but why not have him on an undercard of one of the big fights, maybe in Saudi? He doesn't have to be. Fair. He doesn't have to be the headline fight.
Yeah,
it can be on one of these super bills that they've seemingly put together every now and again, and it'd be an ideal one to have.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.